So I've actually found more Halo Infinite cut content that looks absolutely sick, but man, it does make me sad every time I look and do these videos. But hey guys, and welcome. We're back today with another Halo Infinite cut content video. This is a series on the channel where we go back and reminisce on what could have been in Halo Infinite after its hellish and even at times political development. So I've actually made 3 previous videos on this point whereby we discuss the overall development in general and some other insane cut content that was meant to be in Halo Infinite when it was first envisioned. Today we're going to have a look at some more absolutely amazing images and concepts that I want to go through with you guys and have a little cry when thinking about what could have been in Halo Infinite's campaign and what was envisioned when it was first set out or even midway through development. If you do go on to enjoy this video, do drop a like and let me know what you think down below. It'd be very much appreciated and it helps the algorithm get the video out there a little bit more. And if you are brand new to the channel and you do enjoy the content and you want to see more, do check out the playlist in the description down below to go see my other cut content videos, and why not subscribe? It's completely free. Okay, so we actually have around 23 concepts to go through today, all of them showing off what Halo Infinite could and probably should have been during its development if their development had gone a little smoother. Before I do start these videos though, I'd like to preface first that I love Halo Infinite in its current state. I would actually classify it as one of my favourite Halo games to date. Very similar to Halo 2, the game had an awful development that scarred a lot of the game in some ways. The overall story in Halo 2 was phenomenal, but the overall campaign and the way that it played out visibly does show some issues the devs encountered, such as some of the linear type of missions and the awful legendary difficulty, all suffered because of the lack of development time. Halo Infinite has that exact same effect. I thought that the overall story was good, but because of its poor development and essentially scrambling to get things ready and polished, this was 1, why it was delayed an additional year, and 2, why some of the campaign can leave so many unanswered questions and even key characters supposedly dying off screen, such as Cortana and Atriox at the beginning of the game. I love going through these concepts and just reviewing what could have been, as it gives us an early idea and vision as to what Halo Infinite should have been and what the developers at the beginning wanted it to be. We know that things such as wildlife, biomes, abandoned structures, ships, lifeboats and facilities were meant to be all in this game and crash landed or on the ring somewhere for us to explore and go and look at. And some of those things are even in the game today, not to the same extent, but they are there in parts, such as the crash site of the UNSC Mortal Reverie is actually there, which was later renamed Outpost Tremonius. There are also multiple different condors and life pods scattered around the map that we can see little stories within. Some of these concepts take things to a completely different level. They're not just little life pods or a ship here and there, they are literal structures around the map which have been completely abandoned after the Banished have taken over. So yeah, what could have been would have been absolutely amazing. Even the UNSC Infinity, when that comes to the game, is it crashed? We'll have to wait and see, and we have a really interesting concept about that I'm going to share very shortly. But in typical live service fashion, the campaign is treated like one, and that means the content will drip fed to us over time, which is why we have so many unanswered questions in the overall story, because they're all being left for DLC. But anyway, let's get into some of the concepts and let's talk about them in more detail. So the first image and concept I want to show you guys is extremely interesting, and I wanted to make sure I spoke about this one first because this one could actually lead on to some of the DLC in Halo Infinite. Now, a lot of this is cut content, a lot of this is concepts, a lot of this didn't make it into the game, and a lot of it was cut from the game to be used at a later date, and I feel like this is one of those things. Now, this is the UNSC Infinity, crash landed and overgrown by nature. You can even see that it says Infinity on the side of the ship, so you know that it is real. This blew my mind when I seen it because this is basically shows us the mystery of what we were wondering right now. What happened to the Infinity and where is it on the ring? Obviously we know that it's on the ring, but yeah, it's just really interesting to see that how long has this been there for? How far into the future will DLC take place? Will it be directly after or will it be a couple of months ahead? Again, really interesting to figure out and to understand when this could be, but yeah, the UNSC Infinity overgrown by nature on Zeta Halo, and the Chief finds it, and even the pilot in his Pelican with the Chief inside and the weapon are flying over it to have a look. This image looks like it was potentially a part of a bigger storyboard, which we don't have with us at the moment, so maybe it was intended for DLC, but we don't really know at this point. But let me know your thoughts down below of this one. I think it's really interesting, and I wanted to put this out there first and to let everyone know about this, because this could be as simple as understanding where the infinity is. It's on the ring somewhere, and it's overgrown by nature because it's just been there for so long. The next image I wanted to start with was a ship, which looks like it's crash landing into what I would believe is a Halo ring. My first thoughts would be that it's the UNSC Infinity as well as the first image. I mean, it has to be, right? I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on what ship you think this might be, because again, you guys are also very knowledgeable in this, and you may pick out some parts of this and some details that I can't see or that I haven't picked out. But maybe this is an early indicator for a cutscene in DLC 1, but again, I'm not too sure. Maybe DLC 1 could start with this scene and then evolve into something that we see at the end of Halo Combat Evolved, with the Pillar of Autumn just sat there overgrown like in the first image. It's been sat there for like 8 or 9 months, and the Banished have just ripped it apart and taken over it, as well as nature. It could be named Outpost Infinity or something like that, and we have to infiltrate it in DLC 1, and the Banished are trying to reverse engineer some of the technology aboard the ship. What a sick twist that would be, by the way. The UNSC Infinity and Chief have to fight to regain control of the Infinity, to try and repair it and do what they can to get it back into space. Really, really cool. The possibilities are literally endless at this point, but these two images do go very nicely together. Now, the next couple of images I wanted to piece together and show you some of the landscapes that were planned to be in Halo Infinite when the game was first envisioned and when it was being worked on. Were cut due to development issues and just general not enough time to implement them. So maybe we might see them in DLC. I mean, I really hope we do, because they look amazing. The first one is so cool, and it gives me massive Halo Reach vibes. A huge icy glacier in the background, a frozen lake in the background, and an abandoned Oni facility. Even just the atmosphere and the colour palette of this image, it gives me huge Halo Reach vibes, and I absolutely love it. Anything to do with Oni, I just love completely. I'd love a spin-off game or some DLC where you play as an Oni special agent and you find out how corrupt they really are and some of the things that they're doing behind the scenes, and you're then forced to fight against them or something like that. It would be so damn cool, and even just exploring it on a DLC part of the ring as Chief and going across the nature-ridden Oni base where you go inside, everything is just all completely covered by nature. It could even be flood infested, we don't know. Something like that would be really, really cool, and I would love to see some form of Oni DLC in the future. The next two images are very, very similar, but so cool. This image looks like it's based in an abandoned airfield with multiple UNSC ships stripped apart by the Banished. Again, looking at the colour palette, it's so eerie and gives me massive Halo Reach vibes. I absolutely love it. Imagine having an abandoned airfield on Zeta Halo on the map somewhere that the UNSC had set up and built before that the Banished or the UNSC had even got close to the ring, as there were actually scientists or some form of humanity on this ring investigating and looking into different parts of it before Halo Infinite even existed, so it would line up with the canon there a little bit. However, when the Banished had taken over, the infiltrating took out all the UNSC life in the airfield, stripping all the ships and the aircraft for all of their different parts and materials. This might have even been a human colony world, Reach or Earth. I mean, it looks very similar to what it would be on Reach. There's no indication in this picture that this could be set on Zeta Halo, so maybe in the previous campaign or early designs of the campaign that were meant to travel to different locations. I mean, that would have been great, but very interesting nevertheless. And following on from this, the next image is very similar, but with huge satellites commanding their space in this one airstrip, looking all run down, overgrown by nature, and stripped for parts by the Banished, with panels missing off the satellites itself. It just looks great. Now, moving on to some more concepts around biomes and different scenery that was originally planned to be in the game, and this was fully 100% confirmed as being in there. And in the teaser trailer for 2018, this was all there. There was icy glaciers, there was the night skies, there was the jungle biomes, there was the desert biomes. All of this was confirmed to be in the game, and you'll see this in the background now for the trailer that's playing. There's so many different variations in different areas, environments, and things like that were going to be in this game that just never made the cut for the final game due to, of course, the many development issues that Halo Infinite encountered. But the first one is a Spartan standing next to a truck, which again gives me very similar Halo Reach vibes, and this is a very similar truck to one of those that were in the game anyway. Looking into the distance, overlooking a forerunner structure in the background, and a vast mountain range. Now, this could be set on Reach, as I mentioned. They could be, a lot of these other concepts don't look like they were set on the Zeta Halo ring. They could be set on parts of the ring, but I'd be very, very doubtful if they were. So maybe early stages of the campaign we were meant to travel to places like Reach or different human colony worlds, or even New Mombasa, or places like this that we could have expanded the story in, and maybe that's something for the DLC that we might explore. I'd be very surprised if we just stay on Zeta Halo for the rest of the 10 years of Halo Infinite, but nobody knows at this point. It's all speculation, but again, take it with a pinch of salt. The next one almost has a rainforest vibe. A huge waterfall, massive mountain ranges with nature overgrowing around it, cave systems to the left-hand side, forerunner structures hidden behind the waterfall as you can see. I would have loved to have seen small places like this and paradises around the Zeta Halo ring that just wow the player when you get there. And alongside this, the atmosphere can change depending on different things like weather or the day-night cycle. This would be so good, and I'm hoping in DLC that we get new parts of Zeta Halo with different biomes and maybe some more paradisey little things like this. I would really like to explore stuff like this, and maybe proper cave systems with actual puzzles and loot and stuff like that would be really cool as well, just to give us that added thing to do in game. The next two images also revolve around scenery and are very, very similar. Huge open world plain environments with forerunner structures across the ring. I think more explorable, abandoned areas would have made Infinite way more immersive and replayable. Different structures that were actually really cool with a horror vibe, something pitch black that you can only explore when you use your torch or something like that, and you get really cool rewards for it, like additional armor cores, different upgrades, stuff like this. It would make it worthwhile. Moving on to a couple more images around the Banished this time, and they are very Banished images, and I really, really like it. Almost like a scrapyard taken over by the Banished to scavenge and almost use as a prison or a camp of some sort, keeping Marines and soldiers captive below ground and maybe even interrogating them and using them to find out how to reverse engineer technology or just to find out what they know about humanity in general. I love this aesthetic, and imagine going into a camp and randomly coming across Marines below deck in a cell of some sort, having a puzzle to have to figure out how to release these Marines as well, and if you do find it out and you do manage to do it, they can help you in battle. I think rewards for like that would be really, really cool, and this image maybe shows some form of that taking place early builds of the game. Finally, this looks like a Scarab or a Spectre from Halo 2, but the interesting thing about this image is it's a Covenant Scarab, which is again very interesting in that point. So maybe the storyline was meant to start out different. Maybe the Banished weren't a thought in the Halo Infinite story until a little bit later on into development, because this image quite clearly is not a Banished Scarab. But this does show that Scarabs were in fact meant to be in the game from the start, but were cut later on into development. It's also important to note that this image looks very much like it was a part of some form of storyboard, so this is one image cut out of multiple on one big storyboard, and again maybe from a cutscene or an in-game action or part of a mission, we don't know. A Scarab will definitely come back in Halo Infinite, and I can almost 100% guarantee that. I would love to see them back, and I think having the Let Golo in Hunters being in the game, it'd be extremely crazy for them not to add the Scarabs back in. Everyone wants them, and I would love to see them come back. Now, wildlife. Something that was put at the forefront and essentially rammed down our throats in the reveal trailer back in 2018, but we only got moles in the actual game. Some of the wildlife planned in Infinite was going to be amazing, from the mythical deers to the rhino type creatures, but that wasn't all. There was a lot of different creatures planned for this game, and it was meant to be a very mythical type of game. There were going to be giraffe-like creatures that were roaming around watery areas and in jungle environments. You would have lizard-looking creatures that would roam grassy plains, and that would be very, very territorial. There's a lot going on in this one picture right here, but these are all the bits of wildlife that were meant to be just roaming around the map, and these were, in fact, a lot of them meant to be hostile mobs. A lot of them weren't hostile, a lot of them were just passive mobs that would go around doing their own thing and just act like they were making the world and Zeta Halo feel a lot more immersive and a lot more alive. But other mobs you would have to actually be careful of and make sure you didn't run into them, because if you did and you ran into their path, or if they were coming to get you, you would seriously be in trouble at that point. So hostile mobs were meant to be an actual thing alongside the Banished and the Covenant. They were meant to be in the game, and you would have to also be wary of those. But yeah, they were cut from the game just to make it a little bit more simpler, make development go a bit smoother, but maybe we'll see those coming a little bit later on in DLC, or if we explore another environment or go to a different place in the universe, maybe they might be there, but unfortunately they're not in this build of the game, and yeah, they were cut pretty early on. A couple of other things I wanted to throw into the mix before we did end today's video, and these are some really interesting ones which I wanted to put out there and that could have actually changed the way the storyline worked in Halo Infinite. So the first one, we have a still of the Chief and what looks like a blue team using their thrusters to fly towards the broken Zeta Halo ring. It reminds me a lot of that Halo 5 cutscene when we first see the Chief and blue team when they jump out of the Pelican and then they fly towards that facility. That's what it reminds me of anyway. Maybe indicating that the story was initially meant to be played out differently. Which is, yeah, very interesting. The next one is absolutely awesome. Atriox and the Chief fighting on the ring itself, rather than on the UNSC Infinity at the beginning of the game. So maybe we're meant to have more missions planned out before and after that, where the Chief and Atriox would actually go against each other rather than just meeting for the first time at the very start and not seeing each other again after that. Maybe we're meant to have a fully blown boss fight with Atriox. Imagine if we had an Atriox boss fight on the ring. But for whatever reason, it did get cut, and I think it may be to prolong the storyline in general, and maybe this is a future DLC screenshot. We don't really know at this point, but yeah, if we would have fought Atriox in the base game, I think that it wouldn't have left as much anticipation as what we've got right now. I mean, we don't really know what's going on with Atriox at the moment, and I think that sort of anticipation or interpretation is what's keeping the energy alive in the end of the campaign and wanting to know what happens next. So maybe that's what they're trying to do, and again, as I mentioned, this could be a concept or some cut content going into DLC 1 or 2. So yeah, interesting thoughts on that. We also see a still of a Guardian hovering over Zeta Halo. Maybe the one that crash landed on the ring? I would only suspect so, but again, we have no idea why it crash landed, but I'm sure we'll know when DLC 1 does come. But yeah, that's a big mystery at the moment within the Halo Infinite universe. And the final image of today's video was one that caught me out. So for you guys that made it this far, I want to show you this very interesting thing. What do you think that this is? Is it a member of the Endless? Is it an earlier concept of the Harbinger? What do you think? I mean, could this be an image of one of the leaders of the Endless? I don't know. It looks very interesting, and to be honest, it does link up with some of the design choices that are on the Harbinger and even on the Prometheans from previous games. I think it looks so cool, and if this was a leader of the Endless, I think this would suit very, very well. It's just really, really cool, and I really want to know who the Endless are and what they are, and if this is a little sneak peek as to what one of the bosses or leaders may look like. Yeah, very, very cool. Make sure you guys let me know in the comments down below what you think this might be, and just in general, who you think that the Endless will be and what you think their purpose will be in the universe. But guys, do let me know your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Halo Infinite could have been so much more, and as I always say, it probably should have been. I think we'll start to begin to see the original vision a lot more as the DLC begins to progress and 343 can add some more cut content into the game as time goes on. But guys, do let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, be sure to drop a like on it and subscribe if you are brand new for more content coming each and every single day. Ring the notification bell as well to be notified when a video does go live. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Speak soon and take care.